Welcome back, friends. This week I'm showing off the Thousand Suns Siren Contemptor Dreadnought that I painted up for my Patreon and commissioner in the colours and regalia of the 41st millennium. There's painting footage herein, with which I'll attach a little voice guidance on the processes that I chose as the focus on this project. True metallic metal gold and freehanding. Enjoy. A creation born from Magnus's own vision, the Contemptor Siren stands as a rare and esoteric evolution of the Dreadnought design. A construct capable of preserving both the consciousness and psychic abilities of a mortally wounded psyker. Bound to the intricate psychometric lattice that gives the Siren its title, these fallen sorcerers of the Thousand Suns stride once more into battle. Encased in a near impenetrable shell with the devastating weaponry of a Contemptor Dreadnought, an immense force blade, a choice of 4 weapons, and their own sorcerous power, they unleash a terrifying blend of might and psychic fury upon their foes. This Siren Dreadnought, painted in the 40k colours for the Thousand Suns, had me go completely overboard. I wanted to cover the gun casings with runes like these fellow rubrics, and in the end I wanted to make the fist look like some warp magic is affecting it and runes are appearing all over it. I think I should have gone a little further with the colour choices and blends to really sell that idea on the fist, maybe increase the value of the runes, but lesson learnt, and the results I still think are impressive and in keeping with the army colour scheme. Challenge to the correct autistic viewer: count how many runes I painted across the whole model, including the gun choices, and comment down below. If anyone guesses correctly, I would pin the comment, if I knew. I have no idea how many runes I did. Maybe sort of a window of an idea, but any good guesses would be greatly appreciated still. I'd try it myself if I wasn't so inundated with projects to get ahead of. Definitely my kind of tism. I just don't and didn't have the time. I think it's somewhere between 300 to 500 maybe. Almost all of this was painted live on twitch.tv/beyondtheboxart. Along with much discussion and demonstration of freehanding, we were also doing our best attempt at true metallic metal gold. I'm more specialised in non-metallic metal, and I still need much practice to attain the same sort of standards as I've seen on Games Workshop's heavy metal team's finished pieces. I think with this dread, we're getting pretty close. And with 15 Zangors built and painting having started this week, I'm hoping to hone that recipe and approach further very soon. Subscribe to see the results of that in a future video. For the TMM gold, we use Citadel's Retributor armor mixed with a touch of white aluminium metal color from Vallejo to base the gold trim over black. Mixing a tiny bit of the Vallejo white aluminium greatly increases the opacity and coverage, giving nice coverage in a single coat. Thanks to Darkroom Minis for this tip. Once based, we layer in Flesh Shade and Earth Shade. We're pushing the shadows upwards on the vertical flat surfaces, into the recesses, and towards their nearest opposing or facing plane. To push the shadows further, you could use a thin layer of purple shade in the smallest of areas in the darkest spots. Once the shadows were applied, we'd come back on all the edges with the same colours from the base mix, but with a little more of the white aluminium mixed in. To increase the impact, I'd usually and ideally push right up to white aluminium or equivalent. Being as we went overboard and right to the line on schedule, with every step having the client carefully consulted on additions, we didn't push purple into the deepest shadows and stopped after some minor cleanup and that single highlight on the gold. As for the free-handed runes, you might say I was overtaken by Zinchian madness. Along with the runes, the symbol on the loincloth is also free-handed, as are all the scripts as requested by the client. These and a few other aspects of the model push me down to a size 2, which we end up on for the remainder of the project, instead of my usual size 4 or 5. This is because a finer point was needed than both my larger workhorses possessed. Theirs lost over time, use, and abuse. The other reason was the places on the model I needed a thinner body to reach into recesses of, because I'd made poor choices on the build process, I think. I'm of the mind that leaving the shoulders off would have been better than sticking them on, but another lesson learnt. The downside of this downsizing means having to reload much more often, as the body of a smaller brush carries less paint on its tip and, more importantly, less dampness in the belly. The apartment I'm now in, along with lots of extra noise pollution to my prior abode, has a horrible device built into the ceilings that sucks the moisture out of the space constantly, and this does affect my brush's dampness as I paint, along with my need to hydrate. Having moisture in the belly of your brush is crucial for most painting techniques. It's necessary when doing detailed freehanding of any nature that your paint doth flow without restriction. It is of course true in all your painting, besides dry brushing, but especially with freehand. I use distilled water to load up with to ensure consistency, whilst also prolonging the life of my brushes. We thusly remove the chance of chlorine, minerals, and other contaminants affecting or disrupting the flow of and finish to your paints. When I'm freehanding, I tend to add a drop of acrylic fluid retarder to my loading wells, and this helps to extend the time the brush remains sufficiently moist. Of course, we wick the majority of water out onto a moist paper towel or tap the brush until the brush is made into a fine point but is still filled with moisture. Follow this process before loading up with paint, and you'll paint for longer before you have to void and reload. It's similar to adding flow aid to your paint mixes when airbrushing and maintaining optimum paint flow. Plus, if you can use a larger brush that's got the fine tip that you need, then you'll also help to extend the time for each trip to the water pot, palette, and subject. Furthermore, I usually say, and I learnt this from the great Sam Lenz, that you should only pick up as much paint as you need for whatever it is you're doing. With freehanding, I'd say you generally need to fully load your brush with the paint for the best flow to take place. And by full load, I mean about halfway up the bristles, just about or before the widest part of the brush where the well of the water dampness is. The brush shape should be distinct. If you see a bulge or excess on the bristles, then just remove that paint with a little twist on the palette. If you load up to the ferrule, of course, void your brush as quickly as you can to avoid any of that paint getting stuck in there and ruining your brush. Then, in cases where space and positioning is restricted or critical, do as much forward planning as you can, either through prior mental imaging or by marking out grids or guidance lines with a soft pencil beforehand. I aim to make a video specifically on freehanding at some point in the near future. An upcoming video will include much talk of the matter, in fact, as it's a subject is covered in a far more complex freehand than this piece. It's also probably the coolest thing that I'll ever paint, now or in the future. You can be the judge of that soon in, I think, the next video. Subscribe and hit the bell to see that in your feed. Any questions, please put them down below. If there's a particular faction or model that you'd like to see me paint, put it in the comments. And all things going well, fingers crossed, God willing, I'll try and make a video on that too. The easiest, most certain way to get a video like this here on the channel is to simply commission me to paint you something, as this is my home of commission reveals and future painting tips. Speaking of which, you've seen it a little already, but here are the complete glamour shots of the Dreadnought in all its completed glory in 4K. Enjoy! I'm Tom, this is Beyond the Box Art. Thanks for watching. Follow me on my social medias. Commission a project or passion piece. All my love, God bless, question everything, and have fun. If you enjoyed that episode of Beyond the Box Art, make sure to follow me on all my social medias. And if it pleases you to procure one of my painted pieces, you can peruse the eBay shop. And if you really enjoy the content, you can support me directly at ko-fi.com/beyondtheboxart.